I'd like to call to order the June board meeting of the Danville Board of Education. Thank everybody who's here with us tonight. The first item on our agenda is to approve the meeting agenda. Is there a motion?
I move that we accept the meeting agenda as presented.
Second.
Right. We have a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion to say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. The next item is the area for reports and presentations. The first item is board member comments. Any comments from the board?
Yeah, I just want to take a minute. Thank everyone for a great year. Many of my friends are leaving. And we will move on to another adventure without them, but they will be missed. And doing this for so many years, you realize that closing a school year is insane. And then because you're also starting a new school year at the same time. So my compliments to everyone in the school district for taking care of business, and it was a good year overall. Thank you all very much.
Anybody else?
I just want to give a big shout out to everybody that's been involved with STEAM. I know today was the first day kicking off 2 weeks this year, which I cannot even begin to imagine what a huge undertaking that has been. Combining that with some pep camps in the afternoon. I had both my kids here today, and so nothing like getting them up very early after they've gotten into that summer routine of sleeping till noon. But I know Kathy, Greg, I have no idea. I know I would leave somebody out if I start mentioning everybody's names, but a huge thank you, because I know this is something the kids just thoroughly enjoy, and it is so much work, but what a great opportunity for our kids to get to do these fun classes and activities for the next couple of weeks. So thank you to everybody that put that together.
I just wanted to note that Susan Matherly's not with us tonight. She is out of the state and sends her regrets for not being able to join us tonight. And then just as a comment of my own, just wanted to say what a pleasure it was. The graduation ceremony this year I thought was a great opportunity to recognize kind of what's happened to all of our students over the course of their education in Danville, to hear their plans, and then what we were able to do this year to recognize them individually leading up to graduation was just a really nice tribute to them, and a nice opportunity for people in our community to get to hear their stories. So that was all, it was just the culmination of a really great experience, and the ceremony itself was very nice. So just wanted to
Especially having to do that on the last day of school too,
Yeah.
which is never easy.
Yeah. Next on our agenda is the superintendent's report. Dr. Lowe.
I have a few announcements this evening. I want to start with thinking about the last 5 days in the state of Kentucky. First, we've had both the highs and the lows. The passing of Muhammad Ali, as someone who had significant ties to Central Kentucky. Folks don't realize, I think some of the friends and family that he had actually at the Bait School from years back has a direct impact as we think about his contributions as the most recognizable face in the world. And then to see that followed up with a tragedy in Orlando, and knowing that already we've been able to identify through some of the victims direct ties to Central Kentucky again. So as a school district, it is the role of education to try and help students make sense of these things, both from a positive and a negative, and moving forward. And while the achievements of our students are always significant, it never shortens the load upon our teachers, knowing that for the next group of kids, the next generation, the heavy lifting that must be done as we try and make a better world for everyone that is involved. To that end, we have the opportunity to make it a better world by supporting the Bill Pullum 5K this weekend. Funds raised will be help fund the Danville Schools Education Foundation, which does a great deal of work for our mini grants and other arts and programming throughout the district. So if you got time, registration's at 7 a.m. The race starts at 8, and it's 5K, so it's Father's Day weekend, which means fathers, you're allowed to nominate someone else to run it for you, and we would love to see folks out there to support that race. As Paige mentioned, we had over 360 students at the STEAM Academy today, starting off again the 2 weeks of programming. And a couple other updates. By the end of the month, our new high school principal will be in Danville and ready to get started. Excited to see Dr. Spike involved. And we have agreed in principle in our identification of our new director of finance. We're still tightening up a little bit of paperwork, so I'm not ready yet to announce names. But soon we will have that in print and we'll be able to share, and we're very anxious for that individual to get started. Meanwhile, this week, the Danville High School forensics team is competing at Nationals, June 13th to the 17th. Just got an update from Mr. Metal that says so far we have made a significant impact already, and it didn't involve destruction of any parks, so we think that that's all related to the work of our kids. So it's been a great commencement to some.
All right, thank you. Next on the agenda is the District of Innovation Report.
I'll continue talking, sorry.
Go ahead.
It's easier for me to segue myself. One, as you've seen in the paper and saw at the last board meeting, the Kentucky Board of Education has lifted our probationary status as a District of Innovation. We are now back to being a full-fledged member. Credit went to our implementation of the Danville diploma across all of our schools, and significant impact at the inclusion of our elementary schools in our innovation plan. They are tailored plans, and the organic nature of them put our staff in position to design that work for themselves and see it come forward in a way that there is significant ownership, pride, and development. So we're excited to have that lifted. And for the next 2 days, we'll be at a District of Innovation retreat here in Kentucky, hearing from the other 9 innovation districts as we all as a group get to move forward, including get to speak with Dr. Pruitt on Wednesday morning. And we'll be anxious to hear his reflections on the initiative and plans moving with not only innovation, but if you've seen his input, we'll put it that way, with the ESSA, the Every Student Succeeds Act, and some of the things that will be coming forth from the feds in regards to interpretation of laws related to assessment, which ultimately will help guide what our work can look like as districts of innovation within the state of Kentucky. Already, as the school year is concluded, we have engaged in Mastery Connect training for all core discipline teachers and special education teachers in grades 6 through 12. So that initiative moves from elementary to K through 12 for next school year. And that training got to every teacher in math, science, social studies, and language arts, again, as well as special ed, and looking at how we identify standards and track students' progress, knowing that it is the teacher's professionalism that determines the best way for students to show what they know or are able to do in relation to those standards. We also are in the process of identifying our second cohort of applied positive psychology participants. We are targeting intentionally assistant principals, counselors, family resource and youth service center coordinators, and school psychologists. These are groups that traditionally don't get targeted professional development in a school district. So we're excited to bolster their roles and make sure that they have a broad reach of skills and impact on our schools. And then the current first cohort has also been making recommendations as to who else should be included in the next grouping. So they've been able to pass the torch and be able to give that golden ticket to the next teacher or the next clerical person or the next staff member that we feel like can benefit from its usage. So within the next couple of weeks, we'll have our next full cohort identified. Should be about 20 folks again, and we'll take them through the session series that we were able to see from this year. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Next on our agenda, celebrations of excellence. Do we have anything tonight? Okay. Students, even when they're not in school, are busy, and so we won't have any celebrations of excellence tonight, but we'll catch up when we crank back up in the fall. Next on the agenda is a personnel report. That is included as an attachment in our meeting materials, so everyone can review that. It's not an action item, and so that's there for review and questions if anybody has those. The next item on our agenda is reserved for the public. Is there anyone here who would like to address the board tonight? All right. We will move on to minutes of previous meetings. Is there a motion?
I move that we approve the May 9th meeting and also the May 16th meeting minutes as submitted.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any questions or discussion on those? All in favor of the motion as stated, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion passes. Next on our agenda is the annual superintendent evaluation. Is there a motion?
I make a motion to adopt the annual superintendent evaluation of Dr. Look as submitted.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the annual superintendent evaluation. Before we jump into discussion, I just want to explain and kind of give a little bit of background on this process. The board is required by the state every year to prepare an evaluation of the superintendent. That system has changed under this as the state has moved to a new professional growth and effectiveness system that includes superintendent evaluation. And so this year, we used a document called the Superintendent Leadership Plan, which is developed by the State Education Department as the basis for the evaluation. The board and Dr. Look agreed to rate performance on each of the 7 leadership standards that are in that document. And the process we went through, Dr. Look submitted examples of evidence of his accomplishments under each of the standards. The board met with Dr. Look in executive session on June 2nd to discuss that evidence and other issues related to the evaluation standards. The board met in executive session on June 6th, that was last Monday at our work session, to complete the preliminary evaluation. Based on state guidance, a little bit different this year than in the past, the state has recommended that the board adopt that the board discuss and agree on a single performance level for each standard. So in the past, we had all kind of done individual evaluation reports, put those together, averaged those, presented average numbers, and what is recommended now is that we kind of meet as a group, talk and kind of agree as a group on a single category. So that's what we did this year. The categories do not necessarily mean that everybody on the board agreed with every single thing, but basically that the majority agreed that the determination that we picked was where the group was. The board then met with Dr. Look last week on June 8th for a conversation about the evaluation findings and to finalize the summative evaluation that we're approving tonight. The state's evaluation system describes itself as a professional growth support model where the school district works to improve itself through reflection, assessment, advisement, and goal setting. And so the board and Dr. Look have worked to make sure that the process is set up and that we operate in that spirit. The board as a whole, and this is a statement that's in the summative document, that the board appreciates Dr. Look's work on behalf of the district and community and feels confident that this process will offer meaningful guidance as his leadership of the school district continues. The board also wanted to call attention to his leadership and progress in several key areas in the past year. We listed 5, identifying and implementing internal measures to track student mastery of academic standards and to analyze growth, to better use data and address gaps. 2nd, amending the district's innovation plan to keep our focus on increased college readiness and stronger student engagement. 3rd, expanding avenues for communication about achievements in the Danville schools, including new communications products and measures. 4th, coordinating work by each of our elementary schools to develop their own focus areas to complement student learning. And 5th, increasing the district-wide focus on implementing the Danville diploma. That's not everything that we've done this year, but we felt like that these were highlights and that we wanted to take time to note those and to thank Dr. Look for his work in those areas. Just quickly, to summarize, this document has 4 different performance levels. It goes, the first is listed as growth required, which is at the lowest level of the continuum. 2nd is developing, 3rd is accomplished, and 4th is exemplary. And so all of our ratings were in those middle 2 categories, and of the 7 standards, we rated Dr. Look as developing in 5 and accomplished in 2. There's a little bit of detail kind of summarizing in each of the areas. And this document, as required by the state, will be included in the meeting materials from tonight and will be available to the public as a written document. So we have met all of the state's requirements, and that's what we are voting on tonight. So is there any discussion of the motion?
I think that the document used is a recommendation from the state. It's not mandated. They're trying to come up with something that everybody can use statewide, but it's not necessary that you have to use it. It requires the superintendent to present evidence of his job, and we had 3 pages of evidence, which is really not even close to what actually happened. The one issue I have with it is that the board doesn't have to produce evidence. So it seems to be really a one-sided document, and that's fine. I mean, I have to respect what these guys had to say. I'm not in agreement with it, and do feel much better that I know that we have a very good superintendent that is worthy more of a developing score. So that's my opinion, but I wanted that on the record. He is by far, and I worked with 3 superintendents, he is excellent, and he is top notch. So anyways, that's all the discussion I have.
Yeah, and I'll just say, and we've talked about this quite a bit, that there's not anything in here that's meant as, really as a negative type. In fact, I think that we all went through, looked at this document that we had agreed weeks ago and months ago that we would use. We took it seriously. We spent a long time on this. We did look at evidence and kind of came together as a group, which is what we have to do. Not everybody, as I said earlier, selected the same criteria, the same category, but a majority of us were together on each of them. So again, the board is in control of this process, and it may change, it may go in different directions as the years go by, and the state offers different tools as well. So, but we took this very seriously, and in the end, there wasn't any effort to try to say that anything was a negative. I think that we were trying to look and really be fair and clear about where the group felt like we were, and be able to offer guidance to Dr. Look that would help us all be able to move forward. We'll continue with that conversation, continue with that work, and continue in that spirit. So, anybody else? We have a motion and a second to approve this evaluation. All in favor of the motion as stated, say aye. Aye. All opposed?
No.
Motion passes. The next item on the agenda is the revised finance page of BG 16-134. Is there a motion?
I move that we approve the revised finance page of BG 16-134 with a net savings of $4,937 as submitted.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Ms. Campbell, would you like to?
Just as we talked about in work session, whenever our bids came in, they were lower than our anticipated beginning BG1, so that's the reason for the revision to reduce the amount.
Any questions? All right, it's always nice to get one of these with the savings, and so we glad to see that. All in favor of the motion as stated, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Next item on the agenda is change order number 7 for the elementary redesign project.
Make a motion to approve the change order number 7.
Okay, any questions? Just for the record, for the camera, we discussed this at length and had the architect with us last Monday to go over this. So we're not just relying on what's printed in the motion, but we've heard a lot about this one. All in favor of the motion as stated, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. The next item on the agenda then is the financial report. Is there a motion?
I make a motion to approve the finance report as submitted.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Ms. Campbell, would you like to offer some detail?
The detail that I will offer you is where we are with this and as we move towards June 30th. So whenever you get to June, you've got all those big payrolls and so forth. That kind of finishes telling the story about how we're going to end. So in relationship to general fund, I had projected on our tentative budget that we would end with about 3.4. And so it looks like we're going to be at about 3.55, 3.6 whenever we finish the year. Now, what that means to us is that we are holding our own. So some expenditures that we've put in place are consuming that continuing money that we had been that we've had the privilege of for the past few years, and we've been able to set aside for special projects. So the district as well, when we start looking towards our tentative, or towards our working budget in August, we'll need to have good consideration from the board as far as looking at our revenues and where we stand for 16-17. So the district will end healthy for this year. Whenever we take a look at, unless you all have questions about any of those fund balances, I'm not talking about any of those. We'll skip down to the construction investment account. On our CD, which began on February the 18th with 4.3, we have had 2 construction draws against that. Those are listed, and our current balance as of April 18th was 13.5. We're always going to lag a month behind on that reporting, and we did not, if you notice in your bills this month, we did not have construction payments during the month of May, beginning of June, because we just barely missed the cutoff for the board bills. So we will have construction bills that we pay this week, and that will bring another construction draw. On our interest earned today, you can see the balance that we have in there. And so what that does is help you towards the end of the project as you accumulate those balances towards your finishing, your furniture, your technology needs, and those kinds of things. So today we're at $24,000 with a 3-month worth of interest. And I will call it to you, yes, I do want to talk about assigned I funds and maintenance. Sorry about that. We have $150,000 laying there on the balance sheet for 16-17 for I funds. And during this month of June business, I have moved those overall projects so we can account for those for 16-17. And then our $428,000 in maintenance are those funds that we recouped on our cash project where we swapped out our building fund money for Tolliver, and then we brought the cash back in because it would relieve the restrictions as we move forward on our summer maintenance projects. So those funds are laying there to be used according to that sheet. So any questions about the financials?
No, but I'm gonna tell you, thanks for keeping us whole and plenty of money and all that good stuff.
Any questions? We have a motion and a second to approve the finance report. All in favor of the motion, state say aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Motion passes. Next item on the agenda is the payment of invoices. Is there a motion?
I move that we approve the payment of invoices totaling $673,970.96 as presented.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Ms. Campbell?
It was a big month, but we had debt service payments that were due during this period, and we also had bus payment, or a full cash purchase of the bus during this period, so that caused the amount to be a little bit more than usual, somewhere around $400,000. So, any questions about any specific invoices about that?
Any questions? All right. We have a motion and a second on the payment of invoices. All in favor of the motion, as stated, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Motion passes. The next item on the agenda is the 2016-17 salary schedule. Is there a motion?
I move to accept the salary schedule as submitted.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Ms. Campbell?
As we talked about in our work session, the 16-17 salary schedule is basically a mirror of our 14-15, no across the district, flat percentage raises. I will call attention to 2 items for this coming year. We put in on the district page a doctorate stipend for those folks who have their doctorate degree, and that's $2,500, which mirrors what we have in place for our national board certification. And those would be available for teachers, principals, administrators, that level that has that degree. The other change is on the Baton Middle School athletic page. About 3 or 4 years ago, we did a full analysis of our athletic stipends. We made changes at that time to the high school athletic extra duty amounts with promise to come back and visit the middle school at a later date. So With the 16-17 school year, this does up the amounts on the Bay Middle School athletic pages, changes that we talked about back in the work session. Brings those up to, we did a study across several districts, surrounding districts that are like size, districts that are high in athletics, to just make sure that we're kind of in line.
Any questions on the salary schedules? We have a motion, a second to approve the salary schedule. All in favor of the motion, as stated, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the motion passes. Next on the agenda is district insurance. Is there a motion?
I move that we approve the following vendors for district insurance for the 2016-17 school year. Liberty Mutual for GL, ELL, property and fleet insurance. KEMI for workers' compensation and specialty risk for student insurance.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Ms. Campbell, do you want to?
We'll just do a short review. Liberty Mutual is our recommended carrier for next year. As far as the initials go, Liberty Mutual will carry for us our fleet insurance. That's all of our vehicles, our buses, our maintenance trucks. GL is general liability. EL is our educator's legal liability. And then our umbrella is an extra insurance above and beyond what this carrier offers. So it takes us up to a $7 million catastrophic loss in any of those areas. Property and inland marine, that covers our inventory, so to speak, band instruments, some of the rolling stock, things like that. So our premium on this section did not go up very much, just a little bit, but that was directly attributed to the increase in the vehicles we have on our fleet. Okay. KEMI that you referred to as Kentucky Employer Mutual Insurance, and they carry our work comp. Our work comp is up this year, $50,000. So that is based on what's called a mod factor, and we are at 1.5% on our mod factor, which is very high. So we are up about $100,000 from where we were 2 years ago. So some initiatives to really stress OSHA training, OSHA guidelines, safety, compliance next year is where we need to bring our focus to, and that helps minimize your losses, is directly related to your mod factor, and will help bring down that mod factor, which in turn brings down our rate. I had been talking with a consulting service about some services that they may provide to us next year at a contracted rate, but I don't have enough details on that and enough references to bring that information to you just yet. So maybe at our next meeting I'll have some more details for that. On our student insurance, we have been with Roberts Insurance out of Richmond, Kentucky, and they are the broker for K&K. It was our direct service provider. This year we were able to get a better price from a company called Specialty Risk, and that is carried by Johnson Coleman. And so I'm recommending that we try Specialty Risk and see if our services are as friendly, as user-friendly as they have been with K&K. And that was a little bit of savings from what we were offering with K&K. So, any other questions? Definitions?
Any questions? Again, this is an item that we discussed at length last Monday and looked at all the different bids and all the different coverages and all the rest. So we asked you a lot of questions already. Anybody have anything else on this before we vote? We have a motion and a second to approve the district insurance bids. All in favor of the motion as stated, say aye. Aye. All opposed? The motion passes. Next on the agenda is the Bay Middle School trip. Is there a motion?
I move that we approve the Bay Middle School trip. Let's see, that we approve for Bay Middle School to proceed with the planning process for a trip to Washington, D.C. in the summer of 2016. Oh, I'm sorry, 2017. Sorry.
All right, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. any more information? Or
There's not much discussion other than that Ms. Hall has expressed interest in organizing a trip. These things take a great deal of time to plan out to be part of next summer's experiences for Danville students. And they just want to make sure before they get into figuring out all the arrangements that this is something that the board is interested in supporting, which it has done in the past, and I want to bring it before you guys again.
Okay, any questions? We have a motion and a second to approve the planning and discussion of the Peyton Middle School trip for next summer. All in favor of the motion as stated, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, that motion passes. Next item on the agenda is about staffing. Is there a motion?
I move that we approve the certified and classified positions for the 2016-17 school year as submitted.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any explanation on this one?
Only if you have questions, it's the same things we discussed last week.
Right, okay. Any questions about anybody on this? All right, we have a motion, a second to approve the staffing positions as submitted. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion passes. The next item on the agenda is the Wilderness Trace Child Development Center Memorandum of Agreement. Is there a motion?
I move that we approve the Wilderness Trace Child Development Center Memorandum of Agreement.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any information on this one?
This agreement establishes a very similar relationship and structure to what we have with Sunrise, in that in the past, the administrative staffing at Wilderness Trace had been Danville employees, which was always a real tricky thing because they had to answer to two boards, two sets of directions, and technically we would have the right to pull them at any moment to run bus duty at one of our elementary schools, which was not at all what the relationship was designed to do. So with the help of Wilderness Trace and a lot of conversation, the administrative team of Wilderness Trace will be run by Wilderness Trace. That is, and we will be supplying the instructional services via contract, which is essentially a mirror image to what we do with Sunrise. This agreement updates all of that to make sure that we're clear on how our staffing will look, the days that folks work, the calendars that apply, and puts into print a lot of the details that we have been managing via handshake agreement to make sure that everyone is clear and can move forward knowing what to rely on.
Any questions?
Reading over the agreement, it looks like it was well thought out. It had to obviously been talked about a lot. So hopefully everybody's good. Yeah, hopefully everybody's good with this. And I think it's going to be good for both organizations. So thanks for all the hard work.
Okay, we want to recognize we've got a couple of folks from Wilderness Trace with us tonight. Thank you all for your cooperation and involvement in this process, and we hope that it all works as intended now. We have a motion and a second to approve the memorandum of agreement. All in favor of the motion as stated, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion passes. The next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. Is there a motion?
I make a motion to approve the consent items as presented.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda items as submitted without discussion. All in favor of the motion as stated, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion passes. The next item on the agenda is an executive session, which we have no need for tonight. So I will accept a motion to adjourn. Oh, where is that?
That's the consent agenda.
Oh, it's under 6.
It's part of the consent.
Yeah, where is it there? All right, so I'll still accept a motion to adjourn.
I'm trying to make more work tonight.
I make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye. All opposed, motion passes. We are adjourned. Thank you.
One more
Yeah,
thing.
no, I saw it down there at the bottom too, and I thought,